Over the last several months here across the United States, law enforcement and the public have been engaged in a conversation about police brutality, focused mainly against African Americans and other minority groups. At least that's where the crux to the conversation has been focusing. We've seen examples of this over the last few months. Ferguson, Missouri was what really started the big crux to the conversation. And then, of course, there were other cities and other communities as well. Now, most recently, Baltimore, Maryland has been the flashpoint of conflict between law enforcement and civilians over police brutality. And in the Baltimore case, criminal charges have actually been filed against 6 officers. And as the weeks and months progress, we'll see how that case transpires and how it moves forward. But what I really want to focus on is not necessarily police brutality against African Americans or against other civilians, which unfortunately has seen to and has shown to have happened. South Carolina had the incident where it looked like a taser of the officers was thrown next to the body of a suspect that he had shot. A handful of incidents have outraged the public, and they should, as police corruption and anybody that abuses their authority should seriously be looked at. But I still come from a different perspective, I think, than maybe most people. Of course, maybe it's my upbringing and the communities and where I grew up and lived in, but I still view police officers, for the most part, as the good guys, as the people you go to for help. And unfortunately, some of these neighborhoods that have had these big issues with law enforcement are the same neighborhoods and the same communities that probably need their help and their assistance the most, and yet they distrust them the most. But recently here in Detroit Lakes, I think a good reminder was put forward about the dangers law enforcement face every single day when they're out there on the streets. We recently had an officer that responded to a harassment call. Same type of call these police officers get probably every day, every week, every month. And in the course of this police response, the suspect, who was actually handcuffed, was able to slip out of one of his handcuffs and attack one of the officers. Thank goodness the officer was treated and released from the hospital, suffered a soldier injury, and should be back on duty within a few days, maybe a few weeks, with some light duty and recovery, and will make a complete recovery. But in the same time that we've talked about all these different cases of police brutality against civilians, against minorities, dozens of law enforcement officers have been attacked, harassed, and beaten while on the job, and none of it goes in the media. None of it gets talked about. It's still one of the most dangerous jobs out there. How many jobs do you have to put a bulletproof vest on? And then again, these neighborhoods that seem to want the cops there the least, that's where they're needed the most to make people safe. For those police officers that abuse their power, that are corrupt, the full weight of the law needs to come against them, and their fellow officers in blue need to out them and need to exploit them. But right now, I don't think I'd recommend being a police officer to any of my children, to anybody I know. Why would you want to put up with that harassment? Why would you want to go into a profession to help people when the people you're trying to help are going to look at you like you could potentially be the enemy? Why is it that recently here in Detroit Lakes again, a police officer makes a traffic stop, 2 people in the car, the other person gets out of the car to stand in the middle of a street to record the traffic stop? Why? What are they hoping to catch on camera? What are they hoping to get in a gotcha moment? And that's unfortunately where police officers are at now. Every day on the job, people are looking at them and I think they think, when can I get you in my gotcha moment? It's very difficult to operate that way. Imagine if you went to work every day and everybody looked at you saying, when can I hop on you for every mistake? When can I get my gotcha moment against you? There are very few police officers I know that have been in law enforcement a long time that have not been sued or threatened to be sued for something they've done at some point, even if very few times those lawsuits were ever successful. It's still something they have to deal with. I personally still respect and enjoy the protection law enforcement gives us in the Lakes area, and I think they do an outstanding job. And I think they run a much bigger risk dealing with us, the public, than we, the public, run dealing with them.